Hello everybody, Zateo here. I'm going to be giving you a replay analysis of W0lvren. This is Koom Valley, an 8v8 map, and let's get into it. So let's unpause, take a look what's going on. I wrote a few notes. I did watch this ahead of time, just briefly to get a few notes going. I'll give you the notes as well in the replay analysis thread. But yeah, let's speed up this first part just a little bit. Got some solars going on. Okay, your lab. Getting out some ticks. Okay, so you start with four ticks. Alright, 4 ticks marching. One by one. Getting some more energy. Alright, your first con's coming out. Need more energy. Idle Commander. So this is kind of a big deal this early on, because he has so much build power compared to the lab, which, you know, it only has 100 and these bots only have 80. Yep. So this guy, okay, so let's actually pause, because this is kind of a long time. So this commander could be building more energy. Like, he could already have another solar. You could already have a couple of winds probably. It's good that you're sending someone back here to get the back mexes here. In fact, let's circle that. So that's good to, you know, to have that, but I would definitely say your energy isn't quite high enough to, like, you're gonna need more energy pretty quickly, so I would go for that maybe. But if you're trying to get to the front very quickly with your commander, like, he should already be moving out. Like, it's definitely not necessary to move him out that quickly, but just the fact that he was sitting there idle and still sitting here idle, it's kind of a big deal. And at the ends here, I'm going to be giving you hopefully a good tool to help you fix some idleness, because that is kind of tricky to do. But yeah, I'll give you a tool that I think helped me in the past. I became okay with idols, or I became better with idols back in my StarCraft 2 days, but hopefully it's not. Hopefully the information is still relevant. Anyways, speed up a little bit further. Okay, so you're getting some more energy now with this guy getting some wind. Wind is nice. It's always better than solar, basically, unless, you know, it tells you on the tooltip here, like, if the wind average is 5 for Armada or 6 for Cortex, it's not so good. But yeah, on this map the average is 8, which makes it better. In fact, on this map, even though it's only 8, 8 is still better than advanced solars in terms of metal cost. But yeah, advanced solar is actually really nice on this map, just because the wind isn't crazy good or anything like that, and it's going to be nice to have some consistency. Even though the wind isn't like 0 to 10 or something like that, it's, you know, it's 5 to 10, so it's fairly consistent for the winds. But yeah, advanced solar is actually pretty good on this map. So here you have an idle con as well. This guy, I would actually just say, like, you know, queue up your mexes and then queue up some winds like immediately after. Just so that he's not sitting here idle. If you don't feel like you have the time to queue up that much, like in the moments, like, you can queue the mexes like this, but then you need to remember to add some more queue to this con that's back here. On other maps and things where you feel like you don't really need the energy, you could have this guy just come back assist the lab immediately after. But it's a good practice to do that, to just basically, when a con is done building some, you know, like a chain of buildings like this guy, just, you know, while you're holding shift and adding to the queue, just right click and have him guard the factory so he assists it afterwards. And that way you don't have like an idle con just kind of sitting here and an idle con sitting here, and then if you build stuff down here, then you got probably another one here or 2 here or whatever it is. Just to have them so that you know how many cons you have. You know, well, first of all, yeah, to assist the lab as the units come out, to make them come out faster, but also then you have an idea of, I have this many cons at my disposal that I could have do other stuff. You know, instead of having them like all over the place, like I was saying. Something to think about. Here you have a nice forward position. You got your plasmas out very quickly. Really nice. I would actually argue this is a small thing, but I would argue that this could be up here, and then just grab this max. Um, you don't see a lot of opposition yet, so I would actually make this a radar instead, so you could see a bit further, and then grab the mechs, and then place LLTs here. That way, this mechs, that way, like these towers could be closer to the enemy, and ideally more together. So here your energy is still very low. Your metal's quite low. You're not stalling on energy, so it's not too bad. Obviously, this construction turret takes a bit more energy to build than a lot of the other things you're building at the time. I would argue that 2 at the same time is a bit much, considering your energy drain. And I would argue that after this first construction turret, you could queue up some more wind back here or something like that. This guy should definitely be doing more wind. Okay, so you got some stuff queued up now for this back guy, so that's good. Let's see. But yeah, I'd say like this construction turret also feels a little bit early because you don't have the energy to support using it. So once it's done, I assume your energy is just gonna like instantly, well not instantly, but drain pretty quickly. And so now you're completely out of energy again. So now this second turret can't even really be used. It just kind of adds more build power to this vicinity. And arguably, these construction turrets could be on the other side to just, like, as soon as they get done building a unit, they could assist these wins back here. And then go back to, building the next unit, and then going back to, they'd like, go back and forth between the wins and assisting the lab. Here, they only assist the lab, which, that's sometimes fine type of thing, but I'm just saying, since you do need energy, it's something to maybe try to remember for when the wind is this low, to try to just, get energy a little bit sooner and try to have more build power assist it type of thing. But obviously you want your construction turrets in range of the bot lab to assist that. And then whenever you need, like right now I'd say this is a time to be kind of like in a crisis mode of like, oh, I need more energy now. Because your metal's not going to be able to be spent like this. So yeah, it'd be a time that you'd want more build power on energy, and then as soon as your energy starts feeling okay again, then you could put it back on the lab. So you can do things like, you have your construction turrets here. You can do things like queue up some wind here, and then whenever you need winds like really badly, or you need energy really badly, you can assist assist build the wind that you're building over here because they're in range of that. And that'll just help you fix this issue a little bit sooner instead of kind of just waiting for this solitary bot and this bot, or where is he? This guy. Instead of waiting for these two to like slowly build winds to fix your need, you want to fix it sooner. And that'll just help you get more units out. So because you don't have the energy, because it's been draining a little, or it's been so low, and then you've added these construction turrets to assist units, which is fine. I mean, it's good to do that, but it's also not good, or it's not as useful if you can't really use the build power because you don't have the energy. So at this point, you have less units than your opponent does. I assume that these are both Thors that are coming in. So he's got these 4. He has these 5, I should say, and then this one's dead, and this one's dead. And he's got this one and this one. But like, I don't even see any of your wrecks here. So these guys are all you had. So you got these 5 chilling, and then your next one's all the way back here because you're building the turrets. And whenever you build the turrets, your unit production is going to slow down a little bit because you're building the turrets. So ideally, when you do build the turrets, you want to have more construction bots on it so that it builds quicker, so it's done because that whole time units are not being assisted out of the lab, and so you're kind of just like waiting and waiting and waiting. So it's a point of weakness for you at this point. For anybody that's that's doing that. Um, Doing some nice repairs with your Lazarus, so that's actually really nice. I definitely see higher end players not even remember to do this sometimes. Um, yeah, this I would say a bit of a mistake. You just want to chill with these. Like he has the numbers, so he should be pushing you, and you should take these guys. And as he pushes up, just keep falling back and back and back, because you don't really want to engage superior numbers. He definitely has way more than you do over here right now, so you want to just chill and just back up. You don't want to just throw the units into the grinder and get killed. Alright, so you got some rockets back here as well. One of the things that you can do, like usually as an opponent pushes up, they don't build a radar. Like their radar is probably back here somewhere. Like, or let me draw a better circle. Their radar is probably back here somewhere. In fact, let's take a look. Yeah, so their radar is actually even further back. It's all the way back here. So what they can see is up to here. So you can do, and you can also use this rock, because you know that the radar can't, you know that he doesn't have a radar like directly right there. So you know that any unit that's behind this rock is not going to show up on radar. So you can do things like, this is kind of a tricky thing to pull off, because it risks your commander. But what you can do is cloak and just stand there. Just stand like, it's like right here. Like this area, like hugging the rock a bit as much as you can. And just stand there, because when you stand there, it only takes 100 energy. When your commander's moving while cloaked, it takes 1,000. So it's kind of like an ambush. You pull your units back, you make it look like, you were up here, but you pull back here. And as you pull back, you just like keep slowly like going back, because you have less units. So like, it looks like, from his perspective, it looks like, okay, I'm just gonna keep pushing him because he doesn't have that many units. And you can't see your commander because he's hidden behind the rock. The radar can't see it. So then, with your commanders, sitting, somewhere around here, and your units get pushed back to here, and say his units keep pushing and end up like right here, all of a sudden your commander decloaks, runs up here, D-guns, these guys are also fighting them, and then all of a sudden these are all dead, and you still have, hopefully, if you do it right, you should have most of your units still, if not all of them. But obviously it's a bit risky. You're risking your commander, and if he does build like, say, like a radar like up here or something, then all of a sudden this commander is going to get shot at, and if he does, you might want to just pull back. But the trick here is to wait for the enemies to get up to here, so that your commander swings in from behind and sandwiches them in the middle here, because that way they can't run. The instinction, or what people will generally do is they'll try to just fight the commander, and you just degun like all the units, because the real thing that they should do in that situation is push into your units as much as they can away from the commander, from the D-gun, and try to kill these units. And then, at that point, it's like they could try to go for the commander. They might get it. If they don't, the only other option is to try to just keep pushing. Or maybe they push down here. Because these units are basically cut off from retreating. Their only retreat is through the commander if the commander moves up like that. I hope that makes sense, but that's kind of like advanced tactics, and it might, it might not make sense. So definitely ask questions if you have any. But yeah, moving on. Let's go back to review. Yeah, so here I'd be very careful, because he obviously has like way more numbers here. Commander's taking some extra hits. Get out of there. Okay, Keep pulling back. Keep pulling back. Oh, okay, good. I was afraid you're gonna lose your commander there. But that's actually quite good if your commander's taking all the shots and doesn't die while your units are also engaging his. Then that means the units that are firing at the commander are not firing at your units. So you should technically be in a better position now, because more of his units should have died in that engagement. So yeah, you can see that he has like far less units. Also, at this point, I know it's kind of hard to remember this in the moments, but as you fall back, or maybe even before you need to fall back, just place a radar around here somewhere. Or maybe like one up here as you move down. Um, it's going to be very important because you want to know what's trickling in this way. You know, is there more units coming? Is there not? Just seeing these guys, you're kind of guessing. You're guessing at how much, or I should say, you're guessing at how much is back here. Like this, there could be a stack of units here, you just don't even know. But yeah, radar for intel. Hard to remember, but best unit in the game is radar. That is until Junos come out and stuff, but you don't always see Junos either. Yeah, lots of guessing, but like you're poking, so that's kind of giving you some intel, and you kind of like picking off some units. So you know that's nice too. Like if radar wasn't an option, that would be the correct choice. Okay, so you do get a radar back here. I would just argue a little bit sooner, ideally. Your ally does a nice little run by back here, pulls orange back. So now's your chance to like keep pushing forward. I'm sure you're probably taking care of some stuff at the base too. Like you added on some solars. So let me talk a little bit more about the advanced solar thing, because this is something that's a little bit harder to grasp. And it gets a little tricky on a map like this. So I don't know if you are aware of the spreadsheets. I will add that to the let's see. I'll add that to my notes so that you have it for later. Let's see. Let's see. M costs, or wait. Energy efficiency for M cost. So I'll give you a link to it, but it breaks down like when it's good to get like an advanced solar, when it's good to have a solar or tide, or it's most, for me it's mostly helpful for tide or wind, or fusions and stuff. But you know, like basic solars are basically always really bad. Advanced solars are a step above that for sure, and then winds above 7 is technically better than advanced solar. When I say wind at 7, I mean like average wind is what you want to look at. And then, you know, when I say technically better, it's like, yeah, like you could do winds when the average is 7. Or let's say actually, yeah, okay, well, say wind is, well, okay, well, let's just use this as an example since it's here. So wind is 8 as an average, which technically makes it better than advanced solar, and definitely better than a regular solar in terms of metal cost. So it's, while it's good to get solar when you have plenty of metal and no energy, it's going to always be better to just add on a lot of winds. But obviously the wind isn't crazy good. The average is only 8. So it's sort of like, you know, you can add on more wind and more wind and more winds, but you'd have to add on so much winds that it kind of just makes sense to build like 1 or 2 advanced solars or something. You know, even though the wind is technically better with it, you know, going up and down so much, and with how much build power and build time it takes to build that many winds, I would definitely argue to get advanced solar at some point. And the time to get advanced solar is basically like right now wouldn't be a bad time. You got plenty of, like, you want to do it when the wind is fairly high. You want to do it when when you have energy, plenty of energy, and you want to do it when you have build power to spare. Well, not to spare, but when you have build power. Um, and you arguably, like if your metal was super high, just get basic solar. But as your energy start or as your metal starts draining, or as as you're spending it because you're getting all these units, um, you know that you're still gonna want some energy at some point. And in fact, like once you start getting advanced solar, you can start eating your basic solars and then get that metal back because they are more efficient than basic solars for energy, and they take less build power comparatively. Um, so definitely good to eventually eat. And this is on any map. If you have basic solars, it's good to replace them with advanced solars, um, or replace them with wind if wind was high. Ideally you just want to get rid of these. Um, but yeah, since you have some con turrets, arguably like you could even like what I used to do was do like I'd get like plenty of energy going. Once it started getting pretty high, um, I still have plenty of metal. I'll add on some more build power in the form of construction turrets, and I'll do something like add on one construction turret, add on one advanced solar, one construction turret, one advanced solar, and it's kind of like go back and forth. It takes a bit more micro for sure, um, but that way it's sort of like you're balancing your build power growth and your advanced solar growth. And then as you need metal, you eat the basic solars that you produced earlier to get that nice consistent energy income. Um, and then advanced solar, like it's not great for T2, but like it definitely helps you get there. It'll help you get there. It'll help support T2 mechs. Once you start producing more expensive T2 units, obviously you want something like a fusion, but um, just something to think about. If you have questions on that, definitely let me know. But yeah. Okay, so since your ally did that nice little push, looks like they got some space to be able to do things like that. So you're able to push forward. Um, well, it's fine to have your commander back. In fact, you don't have to, but you could pull your commander all the way back to your base to assist with things. But ideally, you want something up here to retake these mexes. And if you do it with a con, you have the added benefit. I have the wrong person clicked on. You have the added benefit of being able to make them twilights, which are stealthy and cloaked, assuming you have the energy to keep them cloaked. They don't produce any extra metal or anything like that. They do cost 4 times as much metal, so I mean, not great. But the thing is, they won't be able to see it. And if they like, say these are both twilights instead of mexes, and you get pushed back again, and your opponent runs, these are in the middle, so like your opponent's going to basically be going this way, assuming there's no mechs here. Run into it, they'll see it because they run into it, shoot it, and when twilights die, they EMP around it. So like you could even like make a move where it's like, oh, you're pushing me, okay, let me just fall back a bit, and then his units run up here, get hit by the EMP at the mechs, and then all of a sudden half his units or more or whatever are stuns in this area, and then all of a sudden you just push, destroy all these units. He's probably going to be falling back, and you can keep going on, and then you can just replace it, get another twilight. I'd argue, don't do things like make all your mechs as twilights, but like the ones at the front where there's a good chance that your opponent can run into them and get stunned. Like you could use that to your advantage. Or if it's a mech that's on the side, like maybe this one, well, I mean this one could be a twilight, but it's not really necessary. I would definitely not make these twilights, don't make these twilights, just because of the added cost and the energy drain from them. Anyways, let's move on. Oh, you're even sharing some resources to your allies. What a guy. He's got T2. Okay, so hopefully, okay, so you basically bought T2. I got it. I gotcha. So here's your T2. Sitting here idle a little bit. So this is something that I used to struggle with, is like I'd get a T2 from someone. It'd be at their base. And, I'd be like, where's my T2? Like, is it over here? Is it over there? Is it over there? Like, just like grabbing everywhere, like frantically, like, where's the T2? What I did was I ended up rebinding the shoot, what is it called? Like it's a key that brings you to the last ping. So when someone shares a unit, it pings you where that unit is. So I rebounds, I think it's, actually, let's just check really quick. So on defaults, go to ping is F3 on defaults. On grid, go to ping is F5. I ended up, like, cause I use like default, but I like customize it. And since on default there's 2 draw keys, I basically made this tilde key next to the 1 key my go-to ping key, so I can quickly just like, go to whatever ping. The last ping is going to be where the T2 is, so like, like, oh, T2, got it. And I can just like, queue stuff up really quick. Might be a helpful tidbit there. Oh, I think I missed it, but there was a time when your lab was idle for a long time. I think you caught it, but just a minor mistake that, well, actually a big mistake because it was idle for quite a while. But I believe your repeat key probably wasn't on and you just turned it on once you saw that. Totally fine, I just thought I'd mention it. Obviously mistakes happen. Okay, so they brought the T2 to you, so that's nice. So here again, we should talk about the energy because when you upgrade these mexes, they require more energy. They require, I think it's 10 energy, whereas the regular mex is less. Okay, regular mex is 3. I can't tell what this one requires, but anyway, it requires more energy. In fact, we should talk about these as well. Well, let's start with the mex first. Okay, so energy, like as the game goes on and you get T2, and you can kind of guess like, oh, I'm gonna get T2 soon, or I'm gonna build my own T2 soon, or whatever it is. Just know that when you get T2 and T2 mexes, it's going to cost your energy. So even if your energy seems good, you want to try to remember to plan ahead and add on some more energy. Obviously, you got a long chain of turbines queued, which is great. That's fine. But I'd argue on this map where the wind's not good, you're gonna need even more. Which is kind of where the advanced solars come in. Like at this time, it's like 13 minutes into the game. You should definitely not be on any basic solars. Unless it's been like a slugfest and there's just tons of metal everywhere. I mean, I guess I'm thinking of maps like CCR, where you got tons of solar collectors because there is no wind, so you get tons of solar collectors like throughout the game. So that it'd be fine on that map. But on this map, you should have already switched to advanced solar basically, and that would help support these T2 mexes a lot more. I think I was saying that earlier too. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about these converters. So converters require energy to convert, right? It's 70 energy to create 1 metal, and that's per second. So to get 70 energy, you need 3.5 solars. Well, let's even take the half into consideration. Let's maybe round this to 150 instead of 155. But three basic solars. That's 450 plus another half. That's 525. So basically you have to wait 525 seconds for one of these to pay off. Like, it's like, obviously, sometimes you just have way too much energy, and it's fine to like just have 1, maybe even 2 converters. But once you start getting a bunch like this, the basic solars converting into the basic or into the energy converters is very not good because it takes so long for it to actually pay off. So let's even do some math here. So 525 divided by 60. Yeah, so that's like 9 minutes. You gotta wait 9 minutes for that to actually pay off for each of these. So now you're putting yourself behind in terms of metal until those 9 minutes for each one pays off. Now, obviously, like, you know, you get one and it gets, you know, you get +1 metal, so then you can add more solar, and then you can, you know, it's not exactly like, you know, the 9 minutes just adds up altogether. But yeah, it does not pay to do that, especially when the wind is low. If the wind was high and you weren't, you know, you didn't have as much basic solars, then it'd make a little bit more sense to do this. I just would not consider that here on this map. Um, Especially knowing that it's getting late enough that you're going to get T2 soon, and you're not even going to be able to turn these on because you're going to be low on energy um, in general. That's a lot of the stuff I wanted to cover. Um, your metal's quite high, so it's fine that um, like there's certain things you can do, like if your energy or if your metal was super low, you could eat the lab to get these mexes sooner or quicker, and just have all the build power assisting the T2 constructor. But that's a more advanced thing. I wouldn't really worry about that quite yet. Um, oh wow, so that's a lot of orange units. I assume that they're all thugs. Yeah, tons of thugs. So time to pull back. See here, exactly here is when that twilight would pay off. If there was a twilight, say it was sitting like flush on the middle. Okay, right here they would see it and it would go off. And in this case, like the radius for that is like this. You know, so like that's all those units stunned for 20 or 30 seconds or whatever the heck it is. You know, and that's enough that you might be able to turn the tides, because now it's a wall of units that they can't move past, can't shoot, can't move, you know, so that the only, like, especially since it's within this choke, their only entry would be, you know, this little area here, and, you know, like this area here. So now all of a sudden there's this wall here, this barrier, all their units have to cluster up through that choke, and then you have all these units firing back at them. And as they die, they'd leave a wreck, so then, you know, you got even more wall here, and then all of a sudden they gotta try to come down here, and it becomes a big mess for them. Meanwhile, your units are just lobbing bullets at them, you know, like the whole time, so it'd actually be a big deal. Here's another situation where you just have less units, and you should just back up. It's okay to give up some ground, okay to lose the mechs. Won't worry about it too much. The important thing is you want to try to grow your army so that you can confront this army. I don't know if you've noticed, but Orange kind of did what I'm talking about pretty well. Like before you pushed up here because your ally had pushed in here and pushed up here. You know, so then Orange had to respond to your ally, and you gained a bunch of ground here. And then all of a sudden, he didn't push back on you because you had more units. So he saved up, he stayed back out of range, so you don't even know how many units he has, and then all of a sudden shows up with a ton of units and pushes you back. You know, so it's kind of like that's what you're trying to go for. Obviously right now you're upgrading mexes and stuff, and usually that would mean you don't really have the metal to crank out a ton of units, but you know, here you're kind of doing both. So actually that's another thing I should talk about, is trying to do one thing really well. You're spending a lot of well, you're not spending a lot on this, but you're spending a lot of energy converting it into metal, so your metal's a little bit higher than you know, it would be otherwise. But you know, just think about, like, if all this metal was in units like the whole time, like if you had more build power and more energy to support that, you know, you'd probably have like 3 times more units or 4 times more units at this point, since you just lost some. Like, this trail of units could have been just basically already in the fight. Like, you could have a whole nother trail. In fact, you'd have a third trail of units that would already be in the fight, and you'd be able to confront this a lot better. Yeah, you do a nice job pulling your lasers back. You have been using it to repair. One thing I should probably mention, some nice D-guns here, by the way. the other thing I should mention is I noticed that your rocketeers like just end up staying back here as you push forward, and they could have been like backing up and shooting this whole time and just taking little shots off since they do have more range. I believe they have similar movement speed. Let's see, it's 50 for the rocketeers and 46 for the maces. Yeah, so and actually for these guys 45. Okay, so yeah, they have the highest movement speed out of these 3 unit types. You know, so they could be, you know, shooting at, you know, it'd be basically like, you know, it's a bunch of DPS you're just missing. It's all. There you end up losing your commander trying to do stuff with it. The thing about maces is it's very hard to run away from maces with your commander. In fact, let's grab a commander. So a commander has 37.5 movement. These thugs have 45. So the thug is faster than commander. So it's really hard for the commander to retreat when it's a bunch of thugs like that. So when you decided to degun some of the thugs, it's almost like you might as well have just kept pushing directly this way, or you know, try to get up to his units, because he's basically going to die. You don't have any units to push these thugs off of him, so there's a very good chance that if you engage this many thugs with your commander, he's going to die. So you might as well, you know, try to take out as much as you can with it, keep your units back, and you know, once he dies, blows up a bunch of units, then you take your army that's alive, and hopefully, since you're kind of falling back a bit, you know, that works a little bit better. Or since you've fallen back a little bit, you should have more units alive still. And then once he blows up, kills a bunch of their units, you can send units back in to guard that wreck and then eat the wreck, type of thing. And hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, your allies are doing some work. Some nice T2 from green. Quite a nice game from green. This is a good setup for this map. Yeah. I'd say that because, you know, sometimes people end up going too hard on the eco and don't produce units, but because he produced units at this time, they're able to push this front area and just smash through. And that basically won the game. Very good repairing here. Okay, yeah, you take out some stuff here. Now you got all these wrecks to eat. Very nice. Your metal, or I should say, your energy is still very, very low. Yeah, on this kind of map, like if you know your energy's low, like say you know that you don't have advanced solars, like you forgot to build them or something. And you just got a T2 constructor, and your energy is quite low. I would say, yeah, get a couple of advanced solars when you can, but then once you have like say like 4 or 5 or so, grab these mexes, you know, as you get the T2. But after you get these mexes, put down a fusion, you know, like somewhere around here, or you know, I guess anywhere, somewhere within the build power radius of your construction turrets. You know, so then you get your fusion out quickly, and if you're metal starved, you could eat the lab and rebuild it. I know this, and also this is only a case if your energy is, you know, if it's a hard energy map and you don't have that much energy, you know, because to even use these back mexes that are being upgraded, you need energy. And in fact, your mexes up here, I guess they're still on, but you know, sometimes if it's bad enough, they'll turn off, and you're not even using those either. So while it's good to upgrade your mexes as soon as possible, your energy needs kind of trumps that a little bit right now, and so you want to fix that ASAP, and advanced solar would help that. And again, these, you know, they're not helping, or you know, they're not hurting because they don't, you know, because you're not actually using them because they're off right now, but like all the time spent building these could have been spent building advanced solars instead. Okay, you decide to res those, so now you have a bigger army. Green and blue are pushing through. So yeah, I think the game looks like it's about over. Let me look through my notes, see if I forgot anything. Um, yeah, I think the biggest thing is the idle units and your energy needs. Um, because you needed energy, you didn't have the metal to produce enough units to contest orange at certain times. Um, yeah, it's not ideal to fight when you have similar units unless your numbers. Fall back first, wait for reinforcements, then engage when you have a bigger sets. Let's see. Your lab was idle for a bit, not great to convert. Yeah, don't do converters, idle. Yeah, your idle cons could have been doing more energy. Alright. Yeah, so I think at this point I'm just going to... Oh, I wanted to talk about this a little bit. So this here, I mean, you have like overwhelming overwhelming numbers compared to him, right? You have 27 mace or 28 maces and 4 thugs in here. You know, and looking at his armies, he's only got like, you know, like including stuff you can't see, he probably has about a dozen. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, probably about a dozen. Or he's got some down here too. So this is very risky. I mean, in this situation, like, yeah, you have overwhelming odds, but because it's so many against so many, you know, because units die and leave a wreck in a lot of cases, and this is a very tiny choke, and it's uphill. It's up a very steep hill. So A, you don't have vision. Even if you had a radar up here, you could not see up this hill. So you don't really know what's up there. Obviously, this is what you see. Obviously, you have way more units, so it kind of makes sense. But as these guys in the front die and leave a wreck, your units now have to try to go around them, which means they're funneling through an even smaller choke, you know, maybe 1 unit wide or whatever, and it's going to be extremely difficult to get up here efficiently, or even, you know, I don't mind you doing this because your team is completely, you know, they're destroying and the game is basically over. So I don't mind you doing this and testing the waters and stuff. But, you know, just to mention it and talk about it, I would say that this is generally very risky. And I was going to say, yeah, you should engage these guys first, and it looks like as soon as you saw them, you started to. But yeah, when you're talking about a ball of units like this, and they're, you know, obviously they're balled up because it's such a narrow area. But yeah, they're going to take a lot of extra damage from the AoE. Now, Sugs don't have a ton of AoE, it's only 18. Maces have 18 as well. But it does, you know, if they were target firing the units in the middle, like, these would take a lot more damage than you'd be able to inflict on him for how much DPS you have. Alright, so you clean that up, you go up the hill. The tick spam is nice. Before trying to get up the hill, you actually see that there's actually way more units up here than you anticipated. Now there's gunships as well. And yeah, normally I would say just, you know, at this point, don't even go up here, because this is just going to be a lot of dead units. All of them moving slowly up there. There's that you know, bunch of wrecks there that prevents your units. And now they can't even get up the hill because it's just blocked. Yeah, it's just so blocked right here. Blocked up here as well. So like even just getting up there is like gonna be hell. And so yeah, that's a lot of dead maces. That's like a perfectly good defensible location. But yeah, again, the game's over, so like, yeah, do whatever the heck you want to do, but thought I'd mention it. Okay, bulls. Alright, let's see what else is on here. Obviously, again, the game's over. It doesn't really matter, but you could be taking these mexes, and if the game was more serious, then yeah. But since it's over, it's not. I would actually argue that even though the game is over, and you don't really have to do anything to win, it's a good habit just to do things like that. Like, try to get in the habit of doing the correct thing even if it is over. It's something I don't do. So don't watch me for that part, but trying to get yourself in the habit of doing the correct thing, even if the game's already won or it's a super easy game or whatever. And so the correct thing with the hill would be just not push up it. The correct thing here is to, rebuild the mechs as soon as possible because you've pushed way past it. So just grab all the metal you can, and things like that. But yeah, as this is wrapping up here, in fact, I'll unpause it but put it on very slow. I want to talk about the fixing the idle problem. So this is something I did a long time ago. So, my memory might be a little fuzzy. But what I would do to try to remember things is to tell myself in my head before the game starts, and during the game if I remember to, but like, just repeat to yourself the thing you want to fix. In this case, let's say it's the idle thing. You repeat to yourself, I will not idle cons, or I will not idle constructors, or say it to something that gives meaning to it for you. Obviously for me, I've calling them cons is fine, but if you need to call them constructors, then call them constructors. The point is to like focus on it, get it in your head so that it becomes a behavior. The more you repeat it, the more focus you have behind it, the easier it's, or the sooner it's going to be, just click in your head to do it. So what I will do, at least when I was more or less starting out in this game, I would do that a little bit, and I don't really, I had to do it so little that it didn't matter that much, but like, I think back to my StarCraft 2 days where I needed to do it a lot more, of like, check idle constructors, check idle workers. Where's my army? Is that idle? Is this idle? Is that idle? And just repeat it in my head, like, I will not idle, I will not idle, I will not idle. Or you could repeat instead. You could do, all right, what cons could be idle? What could be idle? What could be idle? Or even just something as simple as, what should I be doing? What should I be doing? And when you ask yourself that, you want to get it into your head of having this list of things that you want to check. And the list can vary as you progress or as you learn things. It could be something as simple as like, I will shift Q. I will shift Q. I will add more Q, or I will do this faster. I will do this faster, or whatever the heck it is. I think that's a reasonable tool to help change your behavior to remember to do things, specific things. In this case, I would argue to do it for idle stuff. It could be applied to things like map awareness too. Like, obviously in 8v8s you don't have to worry about it too much, but like, if like map awareness isn't the biggest deal in 8v8s, but like, if that was something you wanted to work on and get better at, you could say like, I will check the map. I will check the map. I will check the darn map. I will check the map. And then let's say I lose a match, and I didn't check the map and I forgot, and that's why I lost. Then I can say to my head, like, I'm angry, like, I didn't fucking check the map. I need to check the map. I need to check the map. Check the damn map. And in the next game, I'll probably have an easier time remembering to check the darn map. Just something like that. I think that's a useful tool. But yeah, definitely, if you have any questions on that, let me know, because that's a little bit more, what's the word? That's a little bit more abstract. So I could definitely understand questions on that. But yeah, it might not happen immediately. It might be like, you do that for like, a couple games. You don't see yourself changing at all. Just try to remember to do it before the game. Or whatever it is, whenever you can, remember to, tell yourself that. And during the game, try to tell yourself that. And, over a period of time, that should help you adjust that behavior. Because there was a lot of idle stuff, and I think that would, make it a lot faster for you. I think that pretty much sums it up. Really quickly though, I'll just say that while it's fine to to do this, to have build power back here, add your advanced stuff in the back like this, totally cool. I would say that generally, if you're doing things pretty right, your metal should be pretty spent. And so every little bit of metal that you spend on something, is costly. And ideally for this game, you want to spend all your build power, all your resources on cranking out units or producing economy. That's my opinion, but I think it definitely helps that, like, if you want a fusion, you're not also trying to build some expensive T2 units. So it's sort of like, instead of doing a bit of half and half, you spend all your build power on one to do the thing that you want to do more efficiently. Say so. This is more an advanced thing, but I would just say that, if you're, like, you build units, you get enough out to do what you need to do, like hold the fronts or push a certain location, and then you stop building. And if you're afraid of getting attacked or something, like if you feel safe but you don't feel that safe, you can keep the lab, and just push all your build power onto your energy. So say you're trying to build your first fusion, I would argue don't spend the money on building all these turrets back here for the first fusion. I would say the first fusion should be up here where you already have the build power. Instead of spending 9 times 210 metal on these construction turrets, you use the existing ones here. You have 5 here and 3 more here to build a fusion here. Obviously, it's not as safe if it explodes, but, like, if something gets into your base, whether it be bombers or ground units or whatever, it's going to be a rough time anyways. So, like, the one fusion's not going to be that big a deal. You could even plan it out where like I was saying, like, you plan out putting some construction turrets here for these wins so you can get them faster. I would say you could plan it out so that you have the majority of your build power here. Build your fusion in the corner here or something, and then, like, after that first fusion's done, then you can start doing stuff like this, because then you can spend more of this build power on the fusion without spending more on more build power, if that makes sense. And that way you're spending all your available build power on the one fusion to get it out sooner, so that you can start cranking out units and using that fusion at the same time a lot sooner. I hope that makes sense. That's a bit more of an advanced thing. But yeah, like, for example, what I'll do is, I'll have this, say a similar setup to this. I'll have my T1 lab. I'll get my T2 constructor out, or a constructor from someone, right? And I'll start upgrading mexes. I'll eat the lab to upgrade the mexes faster because I don't have excess energy or excess metal like you did this game. But I'll eat the lab so that I have the metal to upgrade these and spend more build. I'll select all my constructors that are at base and assist upgrading these. So I'll get these really quickly. And then, if I feel pressured, like I need units, and I don't have a fusion and stuff yet, I will rebuild the T1 lab and crank out some more plasma bots in this case. Like, on this kind of map, you'd want plasma bots. Start cranking those out again to protect what you need to protect. That way you have these upgraded mexes pretty quickly and all that. You can start getting your back mexes or whatever. And then once you feel safe again, build the fusion. Eat the lab, while you're building the fusion, to get the fusion out faster, because you probably need the metal. And then once the fusion's done, send my builder back here to get these mexes, and start my T2 lab. Yeah, I'll eat the T1 lab again and build the T2 lab. Or maybe I want to do spam instead. I'll add like maybe another construction, you know, another bot lab, T1 bot lab, and just like more contours or something. Um, but like, you know, it's like a flow of like now you can do whatever from here. You don't necessarily need to do T2 bots. You can do vehicles instead or whatever. You know, little planning goes a long way. But yeah, it's just like a useful tool to get stuff out sooner. Yeah, and that'll just help you get T2 out like faster. Like these could have been faster, type of thing, or whatever. You know, there's a lot you can do with that. But yeah, it's maybe a little more abstract as well. So, you know, let me know if you have any questions. And it's also definitely more of an advanced thing. Yeah, this looks fine for after that first fusion. I would also argue, you know, try not to ever have an idle lab. If you're not using it, reclaim it, and do whatever you're trying to do faster with that metal. Obviously, your metal's going up right now because you're getting. I thought you were maybe reclaiming, maybe not. Either way, your metal's actually pretty good. And oh, it's because you got these up, right. But yeah, just to get that stuff out faster and stuff like that. I think that pretty much sums it up. But definitely let me know if you have any questions. I apologize. I tend to start rambling at the end here as I'm trying to like collect my thoughts and like make a summary of like what I was talking about. But yeah, overall, nice game. I do like the switch that you made into ticks for this particular case because they helped you get up the hill. Same with the spiders, they help you get up the hill. But yeah, if your opponent's pushed all the way back to their base, don't feel like you necessarily need to keep pushing on them. You could also just like push with your ally up here. You know, make orange go away from its heavily fortified location. Like there's a lot of natural fortification here because the cliff and the steepness and the chokiness of it. So don't be afraid to go elsewhere. And if he sends units this way, you know, down your ally, like, you know, you do need to respawn and retreat or whatever, but it's just really hard to push up this location. Anyways, I hope all this made sense. If not, ask questions, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.